if you have the knowledge and experience and know certain tips and tricks, and then think of all the things that can go wrong, will go wrong, and have backups to it, you can make it a model where, it's more automated. But again, you got to be there ready to take action. I took my utilities off of auto pay. I'm stacking up debt on my credit cards all over again. And just like I need to get to spring, I need to get to summer, and I got there, and then now I'm a little more prepared now. Going to this year, I'm not gonna. I actually had took a layoff. I took maybe 20 resources out of my business because remember I told you I thought I was gonna get to 400 units and I thought I was gonna make 17 million. I'm flat year over year from a revenue perspective. I made, in 2022 $10.7 million, and in 2023 I'm going to make 11.5 million. So I'm kind of flat year over year, but my organization was as if it was going to go to 17 million, so I had to adjust. So that's kind of why I go through cash flow problems, because of seasonality and managing my growth, and not forecasting my slow season like I thought it was going to be. But I have a little more data now, so I'm prepared a little bit more this year.
What do you think the biggest threat is to your business? Because you hear a bunch of stuff about short-term rentals, and then you read stuff about New York basically outlawing,
Yep.
and you're like, oh my gosh, you're killing me. So what do you assess your biggest threats?
So again, like you said, New York regulations is huge. Like you want to be in a market that already has regulations in place. And so at least you could live within the regulations, and they might not have a new regulations coming up in X amount of years. New York and like LA and like Seattle, like those are markets that like have like strong regulations to like not do short-term rentals. Obviously, it's if you could figure out how to do it with those in those markets in some type of hotel license or whatever, that's great, So regulations is a big thing. But I actually like going into markets that are regulated because of like supply issues. Like you'll hear about the Scottsdale market and the Arizona market, how it had the Airbnb bust, right? How back during COVID, everybody wanted to come to Arizona and Texas and Dallas, Austin, and Florida because, those were the only places things were open. And then the demand was so high and everyone's adding short-term rentals. But now when COVID's over, like people are going back to like the traditional other vacations that they were doing, but all of a sudden the supply that they thought that it needed is not there anymore and demand's not there. So all of a sudden everyone's saying Airbnb bust, it's a terrible business, it's not good. But yeah, you kind of went where you saw everybody else going and you kind of screwed yourself over. So yeah, so regulation is something important. For me, it's like cash flow problems, like don't do something wrong to make it so I can't get out of my slow season, which I always think that I'm prepared to, but there's always something that happens that did not expect. Like, I did not expect COVID to happen on March 15th, the day spring break happens, and I was like, at crazy losses at the same time that year. And I'm like, okay, my business is done, at that time. And then I thought, okay, now I know COVID, I'm not going to let something like that happen again. And I let that happen again in 2022 to 23, so it's like I think I'm smarter, but then I never end up getting it right. I try to base my forecast on my historicals, but my historicals never match the future, what happens. So cash flow is big. Another thing is like relationships with landlords, is huge. I work with big property managers and things happen, right? So, I have touched 600 units in my career. I have furnished 600 units. And right now I had 315 like 3 months ago. And then I had 250. And now I just closed a deal for 20 more. And now I'm back at 300, so it's like this up and down thing. And things have happened with my relationship with landlords. So that landlord that I had 35 units with, I'm not doing business with him anymore. Another landlord that I had 55 units with, I'm not doing business with anymore because something happened. There was a fire in his A-class building in one of the wings, and it displaced 100 tenants. And then now my wing that had no fire ended up being valuable to the landlord. And then all of a sudden he's like, I need to move these people in tomorrow. And I'm like, listen, we're month to month at the time, and I knew he was gonna let me go anyway. I was like, but I'm gonna make $100,000 net income here. I'm not letting give you my units. Are you crazy? And then he went off saying like, uh, sue me. I'm locking your doors and moving your stuff. I don't give a crap, let the judge see that there was like these families displaced, and who gives a shit about your business, but then it was like, I'm a businessman, so I'm like, okay, then what's your offer for me to leave? And then he gave me an offer, $60,000, is what I took away, which wasn't a win, but to me, it wasn't the worst loss. He took my 3-year-old furniture. I didn't have to deal with anything where, oh, you broke this vanity, you dinged this wall after, like, you owe me this and like that, because that happens when I leave units too. And, oh, you owe me for this utility fee from like 2 years ago, you owe me this late, like this, that happens every time I leave, right? So I didn't have to deal with any of that. And that landlord actually gave me a break during COVID. He subsidized my rent to allow me to stay in business, so it's kind of giving him a favor back. And now, from with like 55 units, now I have 1 unit with him, and that's gonna like at some point leave. But it's funny, like, even after our ups and downs and our arguments and like lawyer here, lawyer there, he just texted me the other day. He's like, "Are you interested in these 3 units?" So it goes to
There you
show
go.
you, even through like the battles we've had, like COVID, you owe me this, you're causing problems here, I need you out of my investors are pissed off at you, my community, like, even through all that, after like 4 years of now we don't do business together, he still messaged me, because I do pay out all my last dollars, and then I take my furniture out with care, and I clean the unit and I give it back to you, even though I have no more business with you. And I understand some things that probably dinged up, but like, it was nothing that to the point where he's like, I don't want you back. And then so
Yeah.
it's
Your
interesting.
reputation is
Yeah.
important to you,
Right.
right? Like in your business in general. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just an example of that. I'm
Right.
curious, Syed, what would you say is the hardest thing about doing short-term rentals that someone that's just getting started wouldn't know about in this environment unless they
Yeah.
were kind of at your level?
So a big thing is it's not real estate. People think it's passive and set it and forget it, and then you collect rent every month, and people don't bother you. But it's a lot of hand holding. It's hospitality. It's not real estate. So it's a real business. Which there are real businesses within real estate. But like that long, was a buy and hold type business model, it's not that, right? So it's a lot of checking guests in, making sure they have the lockbox code and how to get to their unit, and then they don't know how to use the lockbox, and they don't know how to check in, and they're outside, and you're in the middle of dinner with your family, and they're like, how do I get in? And you start getting stressed, so it's a lot of hand holding. Then you have to make sure the unit is clean. Cleaners come, they don't do a good job, you get complaints, or the cleaner doesn't show up, then what do you do? So it is work, and it is not as easy as people on social media say it is. But if you have the knowledge and experience and know certain tips and tricks, and then think of all the things that can go wrong, will go wrong, and have backups to it, you can make it a model where it's more automated. But again, you got to be there ready to take action.
Do you feel like you can scale this business, Syed?
So I
You
feel like
already
I've
have.
scaled it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
no,
scaled. I
scale it
definitely, yeah.
more. Scale it more.
So yes and no. So I would say 300 units with no outside partners, no debt, is a pretty scaled business. I have $10 million worth of revenue. I fluctuate between 10% to 15 to 20% margins. So I am taking home a good amount of money. I have 75 resources in my business, so it's scaled. I had dreams of taking it to 500 units, $20 million of revenue, take home like, $2 million or 2.4, whatever it is. But because of the things I have gone through, the ups and downs, 40 units going away tomorrow, COVID happening, cash flow issues, lawsuit from my truck driver, lawsuit from the guests, lawsuits coming out of nowhere. Like, it's just like the stress has taken a toll on me recently. And I'm like, listen, like, okay, I kind of just want to stay at this 300 unit mark. And I kind of want to just make $1 million a year and just leave me alone. Like I'm hiding, you know, like I like sometimes I hide, and there are times where I'm like, man, just looking at my phone. I don't want any phone call of something bad happening. So, you know, I'll tell you, like, I've gone through some bad stress with this, even though like my daily life is like, anybody would say it's a dream life, right? Like, you know, I have that 2-hour work week. You know, I don't know if you guys, Gary, if you know, like EOS, you know, it's big in EO, like everyone does EOS, and that like kind of changed my life, right? So my work is really that L10 meeting every week. But don't get me wrong, that takes a toll on me, that because all the questions and everything and the path and what we're doing happens right then and there, and I'm firing out answers, right? So like I'm exhausted for like a day after, you know, because my brain. But like other than that, it's like I'm managing stress, you know, and people will say it's a dream lifestyle, a dream anything, but man, it takes a toll on you. Sometimes I go through body pains when something really bad happens, you know, and so that's like, okay, so just give me my million and leave me alone. That's kind of where I'm at. You know?